Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Just watching the birds outside. Today I'm here to review Albert Camus' The Outsider. Funny story, I didn't know The Outsider was a UK title. I thought The Outsider and The Stranger was just... I didn't even know. I didn't know there was a relation there. I was adding this book to my Goodreads account when I got it, and I couldn't find The Outsider because the title they have there is The Stranger. And then I found out The Outsider and The Stranger, the same book, but The Outsider is the UK title, so I was a bit surprised. That never happened to me before. It was quite funny. So let's appreciate this book. Let's appreciate the book cover. I add this to my Instagram account and it's beautiful. Really sorry if I sound weird, but I have a cold in the middle of summer. You know, it's just me. So I want to talk about this book really quickly. It's a small book, and it's a really short story. This has around 117 pages. I think this is considered quite short. I just want to say something important. I don't script my videos, so I'm really sorry if I spoil something from time to time when I'm talking about a book. But I really don't script my videos. I tried before. For example, when I did the book review for the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, I tried to script it, but it just didn't sound natural. I don't really like that video because it doesn't sound natural, because I scripted, because I didn't want to spoil anything. And that was just a really complicated book to talk about. So yeah, I'm really sorry if I do that from time to time, but you know, I don't want to be concerned all the time if I'm spoiling something about the story or not. So this book is about Meursault. He is a French Algerian, and his mother dies. And when we start reading the book, he's on his way to his mother's funeral. His mother lived with him, and he sent her to a home because she didn't really have anything to do while he was at work, and he couldn't keep her there. He didn't have the means to help her, so he decided to send her to a home, and she ended up passing away there. And so he goes to the funeral. We learn that he's a very emotionally detached person. He doesn't seem to express his feelings very well. When he comes back, he just continues with his life like nothing ever happened. He starts this physical relationship with Marie, a girl who used to work with him in the same company or something, and he always liked her. So they start seeing each other, and we just have a sort of insight on Meursault's life. He's quite lonely. He doesn't have a lot of hobbies. His routine is very, well, if he's not at work, he's just, you know, in the house, just watching people doing their stuff outside. So he doesn't have a lot of things to do, but he seems happy nonetheless. Then we meet Raymond, his friend, and Raymond thinks his girlfriend, who's Moorish, was unfaithful. And he wants Meursault to write this letter as Raymond to her, saying that he wants to meet her. He wants to emotionally hurt her, and he ends up beating her. They go to court. Meursault says he's willing to testify that she was unfaithful, and this is one of those things like, yeah, you're my friend, I'm sure you're right. So, you know, he just blindly believes that Raymond is right. He doesn't give the girl a chance. And the court lets Raymond go with a warning, even though he beat her up. So that was funny, because this was published in 1942, and that still happens. I remember a few years ago, I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember I was reading the newspaper, and there was this news piece in a Portuguese newspaper saying that this woman was caught planning her husband's death. She hired people to kill him, she paid them and all that, and the people went to the cops and she was caught, and the court let her go with a warning. Then that happened like not so long ago, and that was funny. Like, yeah, you're about to kill your husband, you actually pay people to kill your husband and get all the money, and I'm just gonna let you go with a warning. So that was funny to know that in 1942 that was a thing. So the girl has a brother, and the brother obviously has friends, and they start like stalking Raymond, like they're trying to intimidate him. Later on, Raymond, Marie, and Morsalt, they go to this guy's house who lives near the beach, and it's called Salamano, I think. And they're just there like having a good time, and they meet the guys. They meet the guys on the street. There's a confrontation, and when Morsalt is, after he's able to calm Raymond down, he decides to go for a walk. He meets the brother, who shows him his knife. The brother doesn't, like, the guy doesn't, is not even in a position of attack. He's actually very vulnerable. But Morsalt, who's about to just pass out because of the heat, shoots him, and then pauses, shoots him again a couple of times. That's the first part of the book. The book is divided in two parts, and the first part is just really a sort of insight about Morsalt and how he is as a person. He's a person who doesn't really express his feelings very well. We're not sure why he does the things he does. We just know that he seems to be a very lonely person. At the same time, you have this feeling, that I have this gut feeling like he was a good person at heart. But then he goes and he does this thing without even, his life wasn't threatened or anything. So, what's up with that? The second part of the novel, it's about his life in prison. Because he's so detached, he adapts really well. Like, he doesn't have a problem with his inmates or anything like that. And the lawyer and I forgot his name, like the guy who runs the prison, they're actually like him, and they're trying to help him get through this. And they're like, okay, you should say this and you should say that, like, because they learned that at his mother's funeral, Morsalt didn't really show any emotion. Like, he didn't cry or anything. He was actually drinking coffee and smoking next to the coffin, which is a sign of disrespect, or I don't know if it's a sign of disrespect or just, I think for me, I think it is, but well, I'm not sure. But it's a weird situation for you to judge, because people sometimes are in shock and they're not sure what they're doing in a funeral. I've heard some stories of people doing crazy things at funerals, and then after 2 days they don't remember they did things like that. So the attorney who's trying to, the prosecutor is trying to get him, show people that he's guilty. So he calls these witnesses to prove that Morsalt is actually a bad guy. But Morsalt also has his friends and people that he knows from his daily life coming and saying that he's actually a very nice guy. Is that this reminded me of a class that I had on last semester. My first semester of this new MA that I'm doing, we had an ethics class, and I remember one time we were reading this very short text about a guy on a train, and he had a ticket, and I think the window was open. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the window was open or something, and he wasn't careful, he got distracted, and the ticket just flew away. And when the security guy showed up and asked him for the ticket, he told him the story, like, I'm sorry, like, this happened. And the guy was like, okay, so let's just say that you lost the ticket or something like that, and so you don't have to pay extra or something, and you don't have to leave the train. And the guy was like, no, I can't accept that. Like, I want to deal with the consequences of my actions. And the guy's like, okay, but it's not a big deal, just so, just accept the excuse. Like, no, I cannot do that. And you're thinking like, well, what's wrong with you? This was a way for our professor to explain to us the difference between morals and ethics. And she mentioned that morals is what, the social rules that we live by in order to live in a civilized society, we have to respect a set of rules. Ethics, your personal ethics, is when you take those rules and you actually live your daily life, believing that those rules and decide you chose that those rules were important and that you're going to live by them. The person on the train could not take the excuse because he knew it was a lie, and he knew that lying is bad, even though it was not a big deal. It wasn't important, it wasn't serious. The security guy on the train was trying to help him and everything, and he was like, no, I don't want to accept your excuse. And okay, so this was a way for her to explain to us that the moment you accept society's rules as your own, that's when you sort of make up your personal ethics or something like that. And that made me think of that, because they are trying to help him with his speech, and they're saying like, you should say this and you should say that, why he didn't cry at his funeral. I mean, he actually had a pretty good background story, because he sent her to a home because he couldn't take care of her. He thought she would be happier there, so there's no way this guy doesn't care for his mother, even though he didn't cry. Maybe he was in shock, but he says like, no, I didn't cry because I didn't cry. It's not like I hated my mother, it's just I didn't cry. I didn't feel like crying. He also says that he never regretted anything and in his life, and I just thought that anyone in his place would like change their personality completely, and even change ideas about what they believed in as a way to save themselves from certain death or prison or something like that. And he just was too sort of straight with himself and could not do it. I found this book to be very interesting when it comes to understand human behavior and human nature, why we do the things we do. I found it really interesting because it's so short, but it has a very powerful message. If I have to talk about something I didn't like about the book, it was super fast. The chapters are really short and there's not a lot of visual description. So it's just like action. It's just like a list of things. I wish it had more description. On the other hand, for a book that lacks a lot of that, it has one of the best descriptions I've ever read in my life. I'm not going to read this, but if you want to read, the passage I'm talking about is at the end of part 1, and I'm sure you'll notice. Basically, that's it for today. Yeah, it was a really nice book. I'm excited to read more by Albert Camus. I knew that his books were famous for these sort of messages, and his take on human nature, and I was excited and curious, and I was not disappointed. I think you guys know that I'm doing Jane Austen July, the readathon. I'm trying to vlog and I'm trying to pace myself with the updates, because I don't want to end up with a very big video for my first readathon. So far I have 2 updates. Also, I'm working this summer, so it's not like I can make updates every 5 minutes or anything like that. Right now I'm on my 3rd book, so I finished 2 books on my first week and I was very happy with that. I also think I'm participating on Booktubeathon, which is happening at the end of July, beginning of August, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not sure yet. I think I will. Just for fun though. And I'll see you on my next video. Bye!